What if your thoughts weren't just fleeting mental events, but the actual building blocks of your reality? What if there was a measurable, repeatable process, a science, to consciously creating the life you desire? This isn't a mystical concept. It's the core teaching of a revolutionary thinker named Neville Goddard, and it's more relevant today than ever in our search for understanding how mind and reality interact. Neville was a master of the inner world who approached manifestation not as a mystery, but as a natural law of consciousness. He taught that your imagination is the primary creative faculty, the laboratory where your future is first conceived, tested, and ultimately brought into being. While many see manifestation as magical thinking, Neville presented it as a systematic process. When you understand how your consciousness works, you can deliberately engineer your experiences. This is why his work resonates so deeply in our modern world. We're surrounded by external solutions, endless apps, courses, and strategies promising change. But Neville's approach is elegantly internal. It doesn't require special tools or circumstances, only your own awareness and disciplined focus. It empowers you to become the scientist of your own life, conducting experiments in consciousness that yield tangible results. In this exploration of conscious creation, we'll uncover the principles behind this inner science and how you can apply them with precision. As we begin, I invite you to consider a simple question. If your mind were a laboratory, what would you choose to create today? Hold that possibility gently as we explore how to make it real. Think of your imagination not as a playground for daydreams, but as the fundamental quantum field where all possibilities exist before they become physical reality. This is the cornerstone of Neville's teachings. Your imagination is the primary creative force, the first cause, and your physical world is the effect, the shadow. It is not a separate, lesser part of you. It is the very laboratory where your experiments in conscious creation begin. Most people live as if reality is fixed, a predetermined set of circumstances they must navigate. This view keeps you feeling like a passenger in your own life. But what if you're actually the architect? When you imagine a scene with clarity and emotion, you're not just hoping for a different future. You're collapsing infinite possibilities into a single probable event. You're conducting an experiment where your consciousness is both the instrument and the observer, influencing the outcome through the act of observation itself. This means your creative power isn't something you need to acquire. It's something you're already exercising in every moment. The question isn't whether you're using this power, but whether you're using it consciously. Are you running the same old experiments that yield familiar results, or are you designing new ones? Your ability to harness this power is immediate. It begins the moment you decide to take responsibility for what you choose to imagine and feel. I invite you to consider this today. What experiment are you running in your laboratory right now? Just for a moment, become the conscious scientist of your inner world. Notice the hypotheses you're testing about yourself and your life, because what you imagine and feel to be true in the privacy of your mind is the only result the universe can possibly reflect back to you. If imagination is the laboratory, then what is the specific formula that turns a hypothesis into a proven result? This is where we discover the most critical variable in the equation, your assumption. In the science of conscious creation, an assumption is not a guess or a hope. It is the hypothesis you accept as already proven. It is the state of mind you embody so completely that your entire being, your thoughts, feelings, and actions aligns to make it true. Think of it like the scientific method. You wouldn't conduct an experiment while doubting the very laws you're testing. You must first accept the principle as true to see it unfold. Similarly, when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not waiting for evidence to appear. You are operating from the conclusion. You are living as if your desire is already a fact, and in doing so, you command the universe to organize itself around this new truth. The assumption is the catalyst that accelerates the manifestation process from a possibility to an inevitability. This is why many efforts at creation fail. They are conducted from a place of wanting, not having. They are experiments run with the hypothesis of lack. When you assume a state, you shift from being the subject of your reality to being the author of it. You move from asking, will this work, to declaring, this is how it works. Your practice today is to become the observer of your own hypotheses. For the next few hours, notice the assumptions you're carrying. When you think about a goal, what is the underlying belief? Do you feel it's within reach, or does it feel distant? Don't judge, just observe. This awareness is the first step toward consciously choosing a new assumption, one that serves the reality you wish to create. Every great discovery begins with a question, and today your question is, what if I assumed I were already the person I wish to become? What is the difference between a hypothesis that remains a theory and one that becomes a law of nature? It is the element of proof, the consistent reproducible result. In the science of conscious creation, feeling is that proof. It is the empirical evidence your subconscious mind requires to accept a new assumption as truth. You can intellectually understand a concept, but without the emotional resonance of reality, it remains an unproven idea. Feeling is the catalyst that turns theory into experience. Think of your desire as a chemical reaction. Your assumption is the formula, but feeling is the heat that activates it. Without that energy, the elements remain separate, inert. With it, transformation occurs. When you generate the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the profound peace of a resolved conflict, the vibrant joy of a goal achieved, the steady warmth of security, you are not imagining a future event. You are generating the emotional signature of that event in your body right now. You are providing the evidence that your assumption is correct, and your subconscious mind, which operates on feeling and sensory data, accepts it as fact. Once accepted, it must express itself in your outer world. So how do you cultivate this feeling, especially when current conditions seem to contradict it? It begins with focused experimentation. This isn't about forcing a temporary high. It's about accessing the authentic emotional state that your desire would produce. Close your eyes and ask, if my wish were fulfilled at this very moment, what would I feel? Relief, freedom, wholeness. Now, for just 60 seconds, suspend all disbelief about how or when. Simply allow yourself to embody that feeling. Breathe into it. Let it radiate from your core. I invite you to try this now. Wherever you are, take one deep breath and connect to a genuine feeling of gratitude as if your experiment has already yielded perfect results. Let that feeling be your data. This is how you move from theorizing to knowing. This is how you conduct the most important experiment of all, the conscious creation of your life. What separates a daydream from a deliberate act of creation? It is the precision and purpose behind it. In the laboratory of your mind, mental imagery is not passive entertainment. It is your most precise instrument for impressing new assumptions upon your subconscious. It is the process of designing your experiment with such clarity and sensory detail that your mind accepts it as a real experience, thereby setting the wheels of manifestation into motion. To use this instrument effectively, you must move beyond vague pictures into full sensory immersion. Don't just see your desired outcome. Step into the scene and experience it. If your experiment involves career success, don't just visualize a new job title. Feel the confidence in your posture. Hear the respect in a colleague's voice. Sense the satisfaction of meaningful work. If it's a new home, feel the solidity of the floor beneath your feet. Smell the fresh air. Experience the profound peace of being in your own sanctuary. The more sensory details you incorporate, sound, touch, scent, emotion, the more real the scene becomes to your nervous system. This isn't about generating a perfect movie. It's about creating a reference experience so vivid that your subconscious cannot distinguish it from physical reality. Consistency is what turns a single data point into a proven theory. Revisiting the same feeling-filled scene is like repeating an experiment to confirm the results. At first, the new assumption might feel unfamiliar, a hypothesis yet to be proven. But with daily repetition, the neural pathways strengthen. The hypothesis becomes a belief, and the belief becomes your operating reality. Your subconscious mind, convinced by the accumulated evidence of your mental rehearsals, begins to align your thoughts, actions, and opportunities to match this new internal truth. Your practice is to design a brief, potent mental scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. Visit this scene daily, ideally in a relaxed, focused state. Approach it not as a wish, but as a reliving. Persistence in this practice is what closes the gap between hypothesis and reality, allowing you to move from testing a possibility to living a truth. What is the unseen variable that causes even the most carefully designed experiments in conscious creation to fail? It is the presence of mental blocks, those deeply ingrained patterns of thought that act like contaminants in your laboratory, skewing your results and ensuring your reality reflects old, limiting data. These blocks are not just negative thoughts. They are competing hypotheses, powerful assumptions of lack that your mind accepts as proven fact, thereby overriding your new experiments. The most common contaminants are doubt, fear, and a scarcity mindset. Doubt is the voice that questions your methodology, whispering, "This isn't scientific, this can't work." It demands external validation for an internal process. Fear is the emotional reaction to past perceived failures. It's a defense mechanism that unfortunately defends you from your own potential. And a scarcity mindset is the old persistent theory that resources are limited, that there's not enough time, money, love, or opportunities to go around. This theory feels so fundamental that it taints every new experiment you try to run. The first step to eliminating these contaminants is not to fight them, but to simply identify them with neutral observation. For the next 24 hours, I invite you to become a researcher studying your own mental ecosystem. Notice the automatic thoughts that arise when you set an intention. Do you feel a tightening in your stomach, a cynical inner monologue, a mental image of past disappointments? Don't judge these responses, merely document them, see them for what they are. Old data, conditioned responses, not truths. This act of detached observation is like sterilizing your equipment. It allows you to see the block clearly, which is the first step toward dissolving its power. This awareness is your first breakthrough. By recognizing these patterns, you begin to disidentify with them. You realize, this is not a truth. It is a hypothesis I've been testing, and it's time to change the experiment. This creates a moment of choice, a space where you can consciously select a new, empowering assumption to test instead. So you've identified the contaminants, the doubt, the fear, the old data skewing your results. The critical question is, what is the methodology for clearing your laboratory and ensuring a pure experiment? The answer lies not in forceful suppression, but in a compassionate and deliberate process of recalibration. Imagine your focus is a microscope. Right now, it might be magnifying thoughts of limitation or past failures. The goal isn't to break the instrument, but to gently adjust the lens until it reveals a new, more empowering field of view. When a wave of doubt arises, meet it not with resistance, but with curiosity. Acknowledge its presence. Interesting, there's that old hypothesis again. And then, with gentle precision, choose a new focal point. This is the practice of mental discipline. For example, if the thought arises, this experiment will fail. Pause. Thank your mind for its attempt to protect you based on past data, and then consciously recalibrate your focus to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel the certainty, the relief, the joy, as if your results are already confirmed. You are not denying the old data. You are simply choosing to gather new data from a different perspective. This recalibration is a skill, and it strengthens with each repetition. Another profoundly effective technique is to anchor yourself in a foundation of self-trust. Fear often stems from a perceived lack of competence or worthiness to achieve the desired outcome. Counter this by building empirical evidence of your own capability. Place a hand over your heart, take a deep breath, and affirm quietly, "I am a capable researcher of my own experience. I trust the process. I am worthy of my desired results." This isn't self-deception. It is establishing a controlled environment for your experiment. Persistence is essential. There will be moments where the old data seems compelling. That's not failure. It's part of the scientific process. The practice is to gently return again and again to the feeling of your hypothesis proven true. I invite you to reflect on this. What is one specific doubt that most often contaminates your experiments? Can you observe that doubt today not as a truth, but as a piece of outdated data? Can you thank it for its input, and then deliberately shift your focus to the peaceful, confident feeling of your desired outcome? This is how you maintain a clean laboratory. This is how you ensure your experiments yield the transformative results you are seeking. Imagine if you could program your subconscious mind with the same precision a scientist uses to input code into a simulation. This is the power of daily affirmations. They are not mere phrases, but the precise algorithms you feed into your mental operating system to overwrite old, limiting programs. When spoken with genuine feeling, they become executable commands that reshape your core assumptions and, by extension, your experiential reality. Let's code a few powerful affirmations designed to align your inner state with your desired outcomes. I'll share them slowly. Feel their logic. Let them compile within you. I am the conscious creator of my reality, and my world reflects my inner harmony. My mind is a fertile laboratory where I design my desired experiences with ease. I release all outdated data and embrace my power to create anew. I am worthy of my deepest desires, and I accept them now as my lived experience. Every day, my outer world more accurately mirrors my inner state of fulfillment. The true transformation happens when you integrate these codes into your daily operations. They shouldn't feel like a chore, but like a system update. Write one on a note and place it where you'll see it often, on your mirror, your workstation, your refrigerator. Repeat one silently during a quiet moment, feeling the truth of the words as you compile them. The most potent method is to say them aloud, just before sleep or upon waking, when your conscious mind is idle and your subconscious is most receptive to new programming. Hearing your own voice declare these truths creates a powerful synaptic imprint that strengthens the new neural pathways. Your practice is not to repeat these mindlessly, but to choose one that resonates most deeply and to fully embody its feeling each time you run it. Consistency in this practice is what creates the subtle yet profound shift, as in your perceptual output. Notice the small changes, a moment of unexpected clarity, a feeling of deep peace about a situation that once caused anxiety. These are the signals. These are the first outputs of your outer world beginning to synchronize with the new powerful frequency you are now broadcasting. What does the successful application of this science look like outside the laboratory of the mind? How does it translate into tangible, life-altering results? Let me share a documented case study. A researcher, let's call her Dr. Evans, had been conducting experiments in career advancement for years with inconsistent results. She visualized, she affirmed, but her external reality remained stagnant. The breakthrough came when she realized her error. She was focusing on the title she wanted rather than the identity of the person who held it. She shifted her methodology. She began to live from the feeling of already being a respected leader in her field. She didn't just see the promotion. She felt the authority in her decisions, the respect in her colleagues' voices, the deep satisfaction of contributing at her highest level. Within 3 months, a department restructure she had not foreseen created the exact leadership role she had embodied, and she was the natural candidate. The external world had no choice but to conform to her internal evidence. Another subject, a man plagued by financial anxiety, approached his situation as an experiment. His hypothesis was that feelings of security would create financial security. For 30 days, he conducted a strict before-bed process. He would immerse himself in the feeling of having all his needs met effortlessly. He felt the relief of debts cleared, the freedom of abundance, the joy of generosity. He collected data on his emotional state each day, noting the gradual increase in his sense of calm. The results? An unexpected royalty check from a past project arrived, a forgotten investment yielded a dividend, and he was offered a lucrative freelance contract that required minimal effort. The universe delivered the financial evidence to match his emotional state. These aren't mystical anomalies. They are reproducible results from applying a consistent principle. The internal state dictates the external reality. The mindset shift was identical, moving from wanting to embodying, from hoping to knowing. They persisted in their practice not as a desperate wish, but as a disciplined scientist tests a theory confident in the underlying law. What area of your life is ready for this kind of experimentation? What if you focused less on the external outcome and more on producing the internal feeling of the wish fulfilled? If you feel comfortable, I would be honored to hear about your own experiments or any questions you have in the comments below. Your data could provide the breakthrough someone else needs to validate their own hypothesis.